Something. There's a lot of things you can do. You can table, you can hand out literature DVDs, you can write letters to the editor, you can sit at home and in your mother's garage, like the rest of us tend to email everybody and do social media. Anyway, whatever you're called to do, follow your conscience and act. Because if we allow the truth about 9/11 to be swept under the rug of history, we'll have more false flag attacks on Americans, more wars around the world, millions more killed, more economic manipulation, worsening financial crisis, more loss of liberties, and of course, we become a whole lot less safe. Whereas the truth about 9/11 illuminates these lies and results in the rectification of each of these disasters. So we see 9/11 in a whole new light as a means of exposing massive corruption to its heights. More importantly, though, as a way of recovering from its ills. So it's not too late to discover for yourself, where do you draw your personal line in the sand, where you take action based on the information that you've received tonight and up to tonight. Do you wait for the next 9/11? No. Predicted by members of the Congress and the media to actually be far worse than the last. No, we don't have that luxury. Speak the truth now, for a time comes when your silence is betrayal. Thank you for your kind attention tonight. Really appreciate it. We'll take questions now, and if you come up to Bob, we only have one mic. And so let's use it. Maybe Bob will come to you. First question.
Pleasure coming tonight, and thanks for the presentation. Just wondering, like, with all this information you're sharing and going from city to city and basically sharing the truth movement, do you feel that at any time that you're putting a huge target on yourself when it comes to these elites and their power and what they can do?
Yeah. I haven't been threatened yet, and I'm just delighted about that. I can tell you that. I'm concerned. There have been 9/11 researchers that have been killed. Philip Marshall is certainly an example, and that causes us a sobering reflection. But, you know, I've gone far enough in my life to where I realize that I'd rather die speaking the truth than live in a police state. So not all of us can...
Thank you, Richard. It's what our grandfathers fought for, a thing called freedom.
What'd you say?
It's what our grandfathers fought for, a thing called freedom.
Yeah. Yeah, it's worth fighting for. It's worth dying for.
I have two questions. First one's kind of a spin-off of his question. I was going to ask this. I've done lots of research, watched lots of videos, read lots of things, and I've noticed the more I get into reading and looking at things, the more my name pops up randomly when I'm going through the airport. Do you have that happen to you?
No. No, I don't.
Maybe I'm just unlucky.
I mean, I'm kind of expecting it. I'm kind of expecting somebody to give me pressure, even from the American Institute of Architects. But they let us into their conventions each year. We buy a 10-foot by 10-foot booth. We sign up 100, 200 architects and engineers, or get them free DVDs to hundreds of them. So it's... they're extremely uncomfortable with us. They will not talk to us, but they let us into their conventions.
Okay, my second question is, for sending an email to Doer, it says that he's already ignored a petition from over 1,000 people. Why don't we pick somebody else?
Yes, we're contemplating that now. In fact, could somebody give me the name? Libby? What's her name? MP? Anyway, she's somebody that we're looking at as well. Thank you.
Are you going to seek asylum in Canada?
No, I mean, not unless I'm persecuted like Snowden. And a great example of a whistleblower, of which there are several, by the way, in the U.S. Susan Lindauer was a CIA agent, arrested by the CIA, waterboarded their own agents because she was speaking out. So I don't want to be waterboarded. I just have a fear of that. I shouldn't announce that. But I do, yeah, maybe there'll come a time. Would you guys take me in? Thanks. Next question over here. We're going to be running back and forth. Not literally.
Yeah, thanks for the talk. You said that you're not into conspiracy theory, so you're not going to go there into how it happened. But I mean, with all the experts you have, I mean, surely you could, wouldn't it make sense to start working on reconstructing how it was done and getting the motive? And you've got the motive already. And
well, we're speculating about. Well, actually, you say I have the motive. What do you think the motive is? Because I don't have it actually.
Well, the motive, what other people have mentioned on the internet, is that they wanted to have an excuse for going to war.
Oh, okay. Well, that's a reasonable motive for a group of very wealthy, rich people who control the arms industry, the oil industry, the banking industry, and the media, all of whom profited enormously from 9/11 and the aftermath. So, but I didn't say that.
You're talking about the greatest crime in U.S. history.
We're talking about the largest mafia in the history of the world that's been exposed by 9/11 because there were so many mistakes that it became obvious to all of us in this room, at least.
But this is the greatest mass murder in the United States. So why doesn't your team start reconstructing what happened? Because that's not a conspiracy theory.
Well, our team are technical and building professionals.
Yes.
We would expect teams of criminal investigators to look into this, but they're not coming to us and saying, where do we look? You know, there's just not enough of us with the expertise to do this.
Well, I'll just finish by saying, if your experts start reconstructing how many charges it would take, how much material it would take, and where they would buy the stuff, and then this is going to start making the people in power much more sensitive. Because if you start actually looking at facts like that, as if you were planning the crime yourself, this is much more powerful, I think, and might bring more threats to you. But actually, this is getting at the real proof that it is possible to do it the way you've described it.
Now, I don't know how to do that, but I agree with you that it's necessary. There's just a couple of dozen core volunteers, really. We don't have funds. We're just a bootstrap organization. I mean, if you knew how it operated, I mean, it looks fancy, right? We've got a retractable banner. We've got a PPT. I've got a tie. I've got a degree. But I have actually a salary, so I'm doing as much as I can, but I don't have the time or expertise to do that. And will you help me? Yeah, great. Because we do need that help. We need a team heading that up. But I'll tell you this, as soon as we start pointing fingers, we are speculating. We're stepping out of our area of credibility as architects and engineers. And the media is going to say, you have an agenda. So we're handing to them on a silver platter the ammunition to use against us, to shoot down our credibility. It is quite a fine line. And you're proposing that we step over that, and we've decided not to, but we want to encourage others to do that necessary step.
You don't have to name the guilty party to build that case.
We don't have to name the guilty party to build that case.
To start putting the details together.
Yeah, I don't know where nanothermite is made. Some people have done some research on that, and actually, but I haven't even seen it. I've heard that people have done it. So we would put that in where it's made. which means who it's made by, right? Well, we would do.
We'll be talking.
Okay.
I've done some research.
All right. Thanks, Bob.
I'd just like to introduce Monica, Richard. She's come all the way from Jasper.
Jasper, 4 hours away.
Quite a ways away.
Would you stand up, Monica?
Is there anybody else here from out of town that came fair?
How far did you come?
How far?
Fort McMurray, 5 hours.
5 hours.
Very
Thank
good
you.
travel. You're going to go back up there and send a message out, I'm sure.
Awesome.
I lived up there, so news travels fast on super test buses there.
Is there other questions? Or Monica, please stand up and tell us who you are and why you're here. Stand up, please. There you are.
Yeah, thanks. In answer to what you were asking here, just in front of me, I mean, there is another person who has been researching this since the beginning. Actually, he's an investigative journalist who is also in exile, just like, I mean, Edward Snowden was mentioned. He's not a researcher on 9/11 per se, but he's in exile for what he has done. I mean, he's a hero, but he's an enemy to the American state. But this other person, his name is Christopher Bolin, BOLLYN.com, and maybe many of you are familiar with his work. But he is in exile because he did write exactly about, you know, he does make connections. And I think it's excellent that architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth have all their evidence and don't do that, because then nobody can smear them like they do smear people like Christopher Bolin. You will find all kinds of smearing of this man so that he becomes discredited because he did come to the truth and make connections and name names and who is in charge of the investigation or the non-investigation or the grand cover-up, who was in charge of shipping all that steel away when it should have been preserved. That in itself was a crime, because you can't destroy the evidence at the scene of a crime. It was the crime of the century, and they destroyed the evidence. That in and of itself is a crime. But, you know, if you start looking at who was in charge of those things, that is what this man, Christopher Bolin, he's in exile for, talking about those very things. But I just want to thank AE 9/11 for putting together such excellent evidence that gives those of us who want to talk about the truth the tools to talk about the truth. And then, like you say, you don't cross that line so that nobody can just come and say, oh, well, you're this or you're that, and just start smearing you. So I want to say a big thanks to Richard Gage for doing that.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Another motive behind that was to bring in the Patriot Act, the Homeland Security Act, and the mounting of the police state in the United States of America. And that is just moving right along. And you don't need to think it's not coming here, folks, because it will be. And you know what? We are the ones that should be standing up against that criminal government. Our government should be standing up against them, because our government is corrupt as well, but not nearly as corrupt as what they are down there. And our government should be standing. But what does Harper do? No, he sends people to Afghanistan. He doesn't look at anything. And Harper is either a dupe or he's a treasonous bastard.
Over here, question.
If you notice how quick we were in the Ukraine the other day, you guys hadn't even got your pants pulled up from getting off the toilet bowl, and our Prime Minister was at ministers going over there to kiss these bastards' asses. You know, so don't talk about that. We're not very far behind you because we're there. I've been coming to listen to people like you speak for going on 30 years. I consider myself to be more than a little bit of a researcher of secret societies. And it really saddens me to come and listen to intelligent people like yourself go just about to the wall and not be prepared to crawl upon it.
Oh.
I've dared to crawl upon it, and they've tried to put me in jail. A friend of mine right here in Edmonton, an older businessman, crawled upon it about 15 years ago, and they tried to kill him in his own home. And I was witness to it. So until we have the courage to crawl that wall, they say when you walk into a dark room of rats, flash your flashlight on the hole in the corner where the rats came into the room. Shuffle your feet and put your light on the rat hole, and the rats will show up at the hole to get out of the room. Until such time as we're prepared to pick up our flashlights and start shining them on the real people that are out there doing these things that we read about every day, talk about, hear of people killed, done away with, killing tens of thousands of people in foreign countries. Ain't gonna happen, baby. We have to be ready to stand up. I decided in 1996 that I had taken my last step backwards in my lifetime. They know who I am very well.
That's not fair. This gentleman is standing up and he could be a target.
Absolutely.
He's standing up for what he believes.
And I congratulate him for his work.
He doesn't even bother to crawl on the wall. He's standing right there. He could be a target.
Oh,
He
certainly.
may be a target one
Certainly,
day.
but until such time as we really talk about who it is that pays for these bastards, these skull and bones guys that come out of Yale University, and walk out on the street and just have no qualms about doing it to us. John Crutchan, our Prime Minister of a few years, is an elder in Bilderberg. You know, so if we know not where we've been, we're not going to have very much of an idea about how the hell to get where we're going. And so it's where we've been in the past, because these people have been doing this for centuries. Secret societies are out there crawling among you like wasps. Nobody ever talks about them.
All right, thank you.
I appreciate your comments.
That's exactly right.
I take no exception whatsoever. Thank you.
That's exactly right.
Next.
We need to go further.
You know,
Thank you.
I really appreciate your talk and everything that you're doing for another one of our major conspiracies. And I'm no expert. I swear to God I saw Elvis last week, so I'm not even going to sound like that. But what I would like to know, and I never hear at any of these talks, is just say all of the things you're saying is true. Everything is true. And all of these things have happened, which is a horrible, horrible thing to even think about. I have friends that don't even know that there was a third building. I have friends that wouldn't come here because they think the RCMP is taking down license plate. You know, that's how just average people sometimes think. But say people come out and say, yes, we did it. What the hell would happen to the United States of America? How would that ever get corrected to the point of all the other conspiracies that they have to live with, as far as Pearl Harbor and everything else that you keep reading about, even JFK's assassination? This is another one. If you did get everything you wanted, everybody coming out and admitting, yes, we did, where does the prosecution start? Where would it ever end? And what would be left of the country after that? Do you ever think of that? Would the truth set us free, or would it just destroy everything?
1776 worked really well.
Great questions. If you can consolidate your comments a little more, we'll give everybody a chance to make. And what is our timing here? Just so we know, it's 9:15. Who knows what the time is when we need to be out? Okay, we don't need to be out. So we got all night. Yes, sir.
Actually, like with regard to taking it to the street, I think, like I discussed this with a friend of mine, and I was thinking, like, how can we take this to the next level? Because we are aware of it. Actually, myself, I've been a truther since, I would say, probably mid-2000s. And basically, how can we take it to the next level? And when it comes to these elites, like, they can take any one of us out if they really want to. So I think, like, what we came to the conclusion is just basically making more people aware of the events of 9/11 and a different side, like what you presented tonight. And also, like, we believe that we are power in numbers. So where the elites are only a small amount of numbers, the masses are a large amount of numbers. And I don't know, I just kind of, like, with regard to that gentleman right there that was making the comment, I think that if we join together in numbers and basically share this information with anyone we can take it to the next level.
Thank you. Awesome comments. Right behind you, Bob. Nope. Other behind you. Yeah.
I just want to ask, are you personally frustrated that it's only 2,152 or whatever the number is, architects and engineers out of the massive amount of, those professionals that are on board? It's been 13 years. It seems to have kind of taken a long time to get to that 2,000. Do you feel that there's a tipping point that you're just, on the threshold of, or is there, is there still something that's stopping this vast majority of people from jumping on board?
I wish we had more architects and engineers. I thought there would be more after 8 years of hard work. But I think it's indicative of the level of denial and fear of actually looking at this and where it might go, so that pre-conscious decision to label it as something that we then don't have to deal with, so that we can maintain our worldview, which is much more psychologically important to us, a matter of survival, actually, to do that. Most people aren't ready to do that. Architects and engineers are no exception. We have physicists we've debated that said, of course the building can fall at free fall. How could it fall otherwise? Things like that, complete fabrications and lies. And I don't even know if they're doing it on purpose a lot of times. We're dealing with not only that, but what's come up tonight is this concept. Well, I'll put it like this. Somebody asked me in Vancouver, the science that you're presenting and the forensic evidence and the engineering, it's minuscule in proportion to the evil that we're talking about here. How do you resolve that? That was a question asked to me on stage in front of everybody. And I couldn't even open my mouth. I mean, it was the best question I've been dealt, actually, since I've been on stage. So I don't want to try to resolve it on stage either. But I think that's what we're dealing with, an evil so great that the average human, citizen in the United States in particular, can't even imagine it being true, so won't.
But we're the average people.
Architects
and engineers.
Give him the microphone for a second. Start over.
I thought it was done. But,
something happened.
So we're the average citizens, the people that you're speaking to in the States and across Canada.
Well, wait, you think you are, but you're not.
Well, we're the people who, when we enlighten somebody, they say, well, what are you? What are you? You're not an expert. Okay, so the experts...
You have an open mind, and that's a very small percentage of people. It's not average.
No, but it takes a person saying there's only 2,000 people who know what they're talking about, from a structural or a physics point of view, on board. That means there's tens of thousands who are either on the fence or disagree. Well, that's the end of the discussion.
And most all of them, by the way, are completely uninformed. They don't disagree with us, and they're not on the fence. They're on the other side of the, I don't know where they are. They're in denial. They're uninformed. So, you know, there's not 2,000 architects and engineers that are informed that are disagreeing with us. There's about 6 or 12, and their names are on the NIST report. There's very few of them otherwise. When they find out about this, like they come to this room, they end up agreeing with us and signing our petition. There's just not enough of them.
Yeah, I study this stuff about 6 hours a day and have been studying it since about 2005, 2006. Actually, as soon as the YouTube videos came out and that became a reality, you could actually see what was going on. It was pretty obvious to me. So I've studied 6 hours a day, maybe for the last 3 or 4 years. And for the best thing that I know that you might want to be aware of, there's a flight captain by the name of Field McConnell. I don't know if anybody's heard of him before.
Yeah.
Okay, but he was he was a military pilot, and I think in early 90s he retired. He refused to serve under Bill Clinton and flew for Northwest Airline, I think. And when 9/11 happened, he was flying for Northwest Air, and he obviously saw right through it right away. And he wrote Boeing asking to have it put in writing that none of the airplanes that he would be flying would be altered electronically or could be overridden electronically, etc., etc. And Boeing turned around and told him, "You, sir, I think you might need a psychiatric evaluation. Go get a psychiatric evaluation for talking such nonsense." And he says, "If you want a fight, I'll give you a fight." Since 2006, his partner David Hawkins, they compiled every bit of information that they could, and they have an audio maybe once a week or every 2 weeks. And for the gentleman that is asking who's behind it, he'll give you some very, very good clues who's behind it. And I think it's appropriate tonight not to start making accusations and but for those that are interested in the politics and the dynamics behind it, there's a lot of very, very upfront intelligence information on abledanger.net. I think that will maybe satisfy a lot of people's queries about the dynamics behind a lot of these things.
Tell them just real briefly about the Able Danger project that got shut down.
Do you know that? I don't know.
Oh, you don't?
Okay.
Oh, okay. Well,
is
the
that
Defense Department had a section, I think it was Defense Department, had a section of intelligence officers who found Al-Qaeda cells, specifically the ones who ended up being accused of the hijacking. And they were covering them. They had like how many terabytes of information that the higher-ups in the Defense Department told them to destroy. They shut it down. They were just too close to home. And so what's the gentleman that gets on, somehow, gets on Alex Jones and Fox News, the lieutenant, he talks about this quite a bit. He wrote a book, Darkness. Come on, you guys. You're smarter than me. Anyway, there's a great book about Able Danger.
Able Danger is a military code word.
For this operation that I just mentioned.
So Field is extending the courtesy to the civilian population for this.
Just get closer to the mic.
Running low on battery.
Let's find Alistair.
Mike Rivero from whatreallyhappened.com talks about 9/11 quite frequently. He's on Monday to Friday. I tune in about 4 o'clock for the streaming for the day, and he'll talk quite candidly. I think you know Mike quite well now.
Yeah.
So those are two good references to feed into to find out what's the dynamics behind it. Okay, thanks.
Anybody have a technical question? I don't want you to think that this is just a heavy, dark conversation and anything else is inappropriate. I'd much rather deal with the technical question. Actually, I enjoy all of it, frankly. I just want to make sure that everybody feels comfortable asking whatever question that you do have. Go ahead.
There's not a day goes by for quite a few years now that I haven't thought about what in the world can we do. And I tell you, yes, we have to unite at the bottom here, but that isn't the real answer, because we can cry from the street corners until the day we die, and nobody will still know a thing. And these people know that, and that's why they totally own the media. The media is supposed to be a watchdog, but it's actually a lapdog. And the people don't trust the media, but they believe everything they say. And I'll tell people things on 9/11 here, and they'll say, oh, funny I didn't hear it on the media. Because you see, that's what they believe. They believe the media. And you know what? The media believes themselves. And you know what else? Everything the media spews out comes from two sources. That's how stupid those media people are. But all they are is lapdogs. If we could somehow take that media, even if we start our own station, but you see, they got laws against that. So you can't broadcast out. What do you think those laws are there for? They're there to keep us mute. But see, these are some of the areas we need to look at. If we could take the media, you wouldn't believe how fast things would start to happen.
And people are becoming their own media. How many of you have become your own media? Look in the room. These are stations, internet radio stations, TV stations. Thanks, guys.
Yes.
Good to see you over at the house.
I'm just noticing people starting to leave Richard.
Okay.
I just want to mention that...
Last two questions, if that's okay, after your comments.
I just want to mention to everybody in the room tonight that Legacy TV is a new and brand new local Edmonton station on Facebook, which will be uploading. They're taping Richard tonight. And sometimes opening other people's minds as a mediator, I have found over the last 3 years, or 3 years or better ago, my own professional community thought, something's wrong with Bob when he started talking about these twin towers and stuff. Now, I notice out in the Edmonton area, my immediate area, people are talking about it, and they're talking about other issues too that are important to all of us and important that we all address. The Twin Tower media is one that is out there, and please believe me, I'm on the what is called the alternative media, and it is growing in leaps and bounds, especially with our young. And even fellows my age in their 60s are jumping on there too. And I'm seeing it because I have been working it 3 years every day on a number of issues. 9/11 being one of the main ones. And that's why 9/11 Truth, because of individuals like myself, I know, and individuals like you in the room, we are making a difference. Every day I have emails that go to the opposition parties, and I'm asking questions. I understand politics, and I know they can't come out and stand out right off the bat, but guess what? In Canada, they're starting to, and they're starting with some members that you mentioned earlier tonight in the West. In Canada, amongst my network, which is a number of alternative media stations, which add to a tune of about 400,000 Canadians, we're calling it the West to East movement. We've had Shiv Chopra, Terry Grain here just about a month ago talking about GMOs. Prior to that, a couple of individuals working on vaccine issues and concerns in that area. And we really hit the mainstream media. We hit our comments in Global Edmonton, just dropping light bulbs of thought. People are waking up. And the more of us that wake up, Richard, you don't have to worry so much about somebody taking you down, because there's too many of us, and I think they're starting to realize that now. So have some faith, folks.
And one more up here. Oh, you already had a chance. No fair. Anybody didn't have a chance?
Thanks very much for your time. It was an excellent presentation.
Thanks.
I think it's pretty good. We didn't really discuss Shanksville or the Pentagon in great detail.
In any detail.
It's pretty obvious that there were no planes involved in those two instances. You're familiar with John Lear?
Yes. Well, you want me to just spend 2 minutes explaining what I'm aware of at the Shanksville and Pentagon? Because people ask
Sure,
us...
and then I have a technical question for
yeah,
you.
I'll come back to you.
Okay,
Hold on to that
awesome.
microphone.
Yep, you bet.
Because Shanksville, a number of people saw a jet fighter shoot down an airplane, right? And it apparently landed. There's a report showing wreckage 8 miles away from where, and a lot of records strewn in between, from where we're told the plane did go down, which is a hole in the ground without any plane, people, or luggage in it. So there's clearly a cover-up there. There's not much disagreement about that in the 9/11 truth movement. The Pentagon is a whole different animal. There's a lot of disagreement. What we all agree on, though, is that there's no way that somebody who failed Cessna flying school is going to take a large passenger jet or similar type of plane in a 270-degree spiral dropping thousands of feet per minute around the Pentagon and giving it a perfect shot, multiple shots, the most well-defended building in the world, not flying straight down into the roof of the Pentagon, right? Easy. But coming around and getting virtually level with the ground and somehow hitting the first story after hitting light poles and not destabilizing. So that scenario probably didn't happen, right? So what did happen? That's where a number of different theories evolved. And I encourage you to look at them all and make up your own mind. But we all agree that nothing should have hit the Pentagon. We all agree that the Pentagon is not forthcoming in releasing the high-res photos, dozens of them, videos, that would show exactly what did or didn't hit the Pentagon. So that's important to keep in mind and not get into these arguments which have consumed the 9/11 truth movement about the Pentagon. Focus on what we agree on. And you can speculate also. Back to you.
So my technical question is, from an architect standpoint, and I've got some experience with structural steel construction, how a plane, or planes plural, made of aluminum, the tip is, of course, the nose is carbon, can literally penetrate a building that's reinforced to the magnitude that both towers were right through the building. And in some of the news clips, if you want to call them that, the actual nose is seen coming out the other side.
Yeah, there's been some documentation of
South Tower specifically, yeah.
Right. So Lear says that it's absolutely impossible, and
right.
pilots.
Well, let me answer the question.
Yeah.
Because I'm familiar with that. I don't know, and I don't think anybody does, what a plane traveling 500 or whatever miles an hour is capable, whether it's capable of penetrating structural steel. That's just well beyond my pay grade, and I think most people's. What I do know is that I've talked to personally 6 people who saw one of the planes personally. Some of them were in the towers, saw the planes with their own eyes, hit the towers. And two more of them saw both planes hit both towers. Saw 2 planes hit their respective towers with their own eyes, reliving this experience while telling it to me, causing the hair to stand up on the back of both of our necks. So that, given the plane parts that we do have on the ground, leads me to believe that planes did hit and impact those towers. But again, that's not worth arguing about at all. We're talking about evidence of controlled demolition.
Right.
So why bring up the question of whether there were planes, which is just going to throw a lot of doubt on anybody's mind about your credibility, when you have credible evidence of explosive destruction, which is scientifically provable, and you don't need to speculate about. Let's bring the most hardcore scientific evidence to the American and Canadian people. That's what's going to work for us the best, I think.
Just a short note, Richard, in about 5 minutes, they'll have to start shutting down So we'll have to start wrapping
So
up.
we got to get out of here now, or in 5 minutes we got
About
to start
five-
getting out of here?
5 minutes, start rolling.
Okay.
into it.
We have 5 more minutes?
Yeah, a question I have here is, it's not that I'm not believing that it was a controlled demolition, but for this to take place, these explosives had to have taken a lot of time to place into these buildings. And where are the people that did it, and why did not people see these people that did it? What has happened to those people that have probably done this?
You know, this is a great question, and I actually have some support for you here because why isn't that working? On the 9 months prior to 9/11, we had something really interesting happening at the towers. You know, the elevators are grouped around the core, and if you could get into these elevator shafts, you'd have access to the core columns and beams in the building to plant those explosives without the occupants knowing. But what if you had an elevator modernization project? In fact, the largest one in the world going on the 9 months prior to 9/11, with guarded, shut down elevator cores one by one, and with 85 employees of ACE Elevator in the middle of such an operation, could easily have, I don't know about easily, could have given them the undercover cover that they might have needed to plant explosives. I'm not speculating, I'm saying let's investigate.
Who's the head of security?
And so thousands of tons, hundreds of tons of nanothermite and high energy explosives would have to have come through the nose of the security companies. So we're talking at the time Securicom, Stratosec. We want an investigation of them also, of course. And the board of directors included some interesting characters which should be investigated, which are very well known. That's the question from the audience member.
They're doing that in Edmonton right now, modernizing the elevators.
Yeah? Okay. Well, when you start modernizing your elevators, you should be careful. You wouldn't have to run miles and miles of detonation cord or wires. You have wireless devices available. We don't know how the nanothermite was detonated. Is there one final question? And we'll meet. Oh, I have forgotten. I need Monica, if you and Joanne would come up and let people know where and when you guys meet regularly, so that people can find you. Bob, can you hand somebody the microphone who has the answer to that question? Oh, I'm seeing a lot of... You can see what we're up against. We can't even, it's like herding cats.
I don't live here, but I would love to meet with people in Jasper.
And this will be our final comment. And Joanne got roped into pulling this together. We need a lot of help in Edmonton, you guys. So please come help us. And thank you, Joanne and Steve and everybody who's helped.
Legacy TV.
Would you? You can't stand up. You're pinned down.
I don't want to knock over. So yeah, Legacy TV Network, which is on Facebook. So please go there and you can watch the video and share with your friends. We did set up a Facebook group called Rethink 9/11 Edmonton. So please go there and please post a comment, and then we can talk about the question about meeting.
All right. Say it again. Rethink
9/11 Edmonton.
This
is on
Facebook. Sorry, no dots.
Facebook group, so you have to search in the field Rethink 9/11 Edmonton, and
you can find us. And we'll be out in the lobby. Also, you can talk to us and come have refreshments with us. We're meeting in Riverdale, 10107. That's 10107. 10107 89th Street. We'll see you there in about 30-40 minutes. Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate you coming.
On behalf of Edmonton, Richard, we'd certainly like to thank you for coming out tonight. And we're going to keep the truth movement moving. Let's talk to our families and get those CDs. Legacy TV, you'll be able to forward tonight's presentation, so keep that in mind. Sometimes people will watch a CD. Thank you, and have a good evening.
What was your most striking piece of the evidence that we presented to you?
Well, just how like the explosion kind of went down faster than like the pieces were falling.
Oh, you got that.
Yeah.
Good. It took me 2 years to get that. I'd seen that video, but I didn't see them racing down the corner of the building. So to you, that was explosion instead of a gravitational collapse.
Yeah, and then like the seventh building that went down, or number 7, how it went down, I kind of thought that people would like place explosions, like the terrorists placed explosions in that building to like keep anyone that noticed them going in from like stopping them.
And so what do you think all this means?
Well, I just personally think that it's probably going to happen again, and the more people that step up, it's going to end up like trying to stop them.
So we can stop it by becoming aware of it. We have
Sean Thomas.
Sean Thomas, what's your background?
I'm a university student.
Oh, you are a student, or students here. This is good. What was your reaction to the presentation?
Well, ultimately, I've already known quite a bit about this from the early 2000s. It was kind of a thing that my one really smart friend showed me, so it was ironic. But
that you?
I mean, no. It's great to get people out here and talking and socializing about it, because fundamentally, I think that's like the best way to...
You get support.
Yeah, exactly. And
okay.
You can go online and do the research, but when you really collaborate as a group, you build on discussions, and that's where it all starts, you know?
Did you learn anything?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, like, we got to do this and be a group about it. I think we have to step up, because I'm ready to, like, do something. You know, I've been here for so long, and it's like, it's time to do something about it.
This is Sean Thomas, and he wants to do something about this. It's time to show up. So you guys got to exchange. You put your name on the list.
Absolutely, yeah.
So he'll be hearing from you.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, action takers. Which piece of evidence struck you the most this time?
Well, like, ultimately building 7, that's, like, no doubt about it, right? You got to, how they just covered it up, the 5 media just controlled, you know, like the one shot that they used from the helicopter the whole time. It all makes sense, right? Like, it's just people have to wake up.
Awesome.
But,
thanks, Sean.
Yeah, for sure.
Over here we have
Nicholas.
Nicholas from where?
From Fort McMurray.
Oh, 5 hours away?
5 hours away.
So Nicholas drove here 5 hours. Why would you do that?
Well, I had seen the information that you had presented before, and it was just really something that I was passionate about, sharing with my family and friends, and then also coming to see you live and getting some more tidbits or information that maybe that wasn't included in the videos.
Awesome. What did you learn?
Well, I learned that you're very passionate about what you're supporting in the cause there, and especially with regard to like the main focus on Building 7, where it was not struck by anything and it came down in free fall speed. And then you transition over to the Twin Towers, and you explain that instead of starting with the Twin Towers. I liked how you start with Building 7 first, and then just wrapped it all into the presentation together.
Awesome. What's your background?
My background is equipment operator.
All right. So what are you going to do with this information?
Well, I think if we go based on what your presentation is, we can point fingers in different directions on who done it. But I think right now, at this point, it's basically spreading this information to the masses and making people aware of this information. And I believe personally, eventually, the tables will turn.
So you're going to come have some refreshments with us, right, tonight?
Yes, I'm going to spend some
before you
time.
drive 5 hours home.
That's right. Well, I'm spending the night.
Oh, you are?
Yeah,
oh, good.
yeah.
Okay. And so you're coming tonight?
Yeah, I'm going to show up with Monica.
Awesome. Are you coming, Ryan?
Yeah.
All right. All these guys are coming to have refreshments with us at Riverdale. And so we'll see you guys there. Okay, cool.
Richard thoroughly covered all the technical ins and outs of the physics and what what happened, what should have happened. The thermite discussion I particularly enjoyed. It answered a lot of questions in terms of the severing of the beams. I didn't realize there was thermate and thermite. That answered a lot of questions as well.
Are you going to go home and do anything with this information now?
Well, I continue to study. Every day, actually, I focus on the alternative media to put the puzzles together, find new people, new opinions, and so on. Keep it going. Just keep it going.
Thank you, Ryan. Appreciate that.
If the government story was true, would they not want to prove it to the world? But no, instead, they shipped away the evidence. They covered up. They took it away as fast as they could. So that's what I say to my friends who I think they should understand this, but they refuse to accept it. And they give me these arguments and those arguments and those arguments. And I just say, look, if their story was true, would it not be in their interest to have done a proper investigation? Why would they cover it up? Why? They would want to prove to the world that their version of the story is true. That's kind of what you have to ask them.
Be transparent, even if it's not an effort to prove.
I think when you engage the people and the questions at the end are the best part, because people are convinced once they see the pictures and they see the evidence, and Richard is very compelling, with what he talks about. So I think seeing the audience become persuaded into seeing that this is something to take a look at is the most rewarding part of it all.
Awesome.
It's the awakening.
The awakening, yeah. We're at the home of Khan. Boland, with a D on the end.
Yes, sir.
And Khan is the owner of this home and hosting us for dinner. Thank you so very much.
You're so welcome.
And Khan lives in the river valley just beneath Edmonton. And Khan, what can you tell me about why you wanted AE 9/11 truth here?
Because I totally respect people like you, and I think it is time we all learn the truth. And we want government openness, transparency, because we pay for government. And they do all kinds of things behind our back, and that is totally wrong. It's time we all wake up and get together to change that.
Are there people in the fluoride and chemtrails movement or issue that don't want to hear about 9/11? Was there an issue, or is it more increasingly open?
Everybody recognizes that as the start of a lot of these other problems coming to the forefront.
And others say it's history, and so let's do what's current. I mean, they're spraying on us right now.
The fluoride people like fluoride, they like it because we can fix it, because for us in Canada,
you have a solution.
We can actually fix it, so we can get empowered.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Because it's a city council issue, and we should be able to fix that, and then we can get bigger issues done, right?
Great. Let's make a note of that, man.
I'm a little bit of an activist myself now, on fluoride, and I'm helping Joanne and all kinds of people. And genetically modified food is an enemy. Like we have to all wake up, and I care for this planet. There's so much beauty here. Let's not fuck it up.
Grandfather fought for a thing called freedom.
Yeah, it's worth fighting for.
We have an online Facebook group called Rethink 9/11 Edmonton, and hopefully people will join that group, and then we're going to arrange for meetings to get together and talk about some of these issues to spread awareness, but also to come up with solutions to hold our government accountable.
Awesome. Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you for coming.
It was incredible.